Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. As you can probably tell, we are back in my little tiny one-bedroom apartment. I have one more semester of grad school, that's why I'm back here. I'm sure a lot of you who have been through, I mean not just grad school, I guess any type of schooling, you know how it feels when it's your last semester, and I think especially with grad school, when you've just been in school for that long, I'm just like itching for it to be over, so May can just not come fast enough. Now, if you've been subscribed to my channel for any length of time, you've probably noticed that I don't generally do wrap-ups. I just like to do kind of singular book reviews because that's what I enjoy doing. But I finished one novella, one manga, and one graphic novel recently, and none of those really warranted their own separate videos, so I thought I would just do a quick wrap-up. So the first book is Blue Iris by Yoko Agawa, and why did I start off the video with this book? I don't know if you would call this a book or a novella. I think it was like 150 pages to 200 pages long. I don't remember. It's back in my bedroom at home at my parents' house, but my friend bought this for me for Christmas, and the inside she had a note that said something like, "You like fucked up weird stuff, you might like this." I've heard some people describe this as Japanese 50 Shades of Grey. I've heard other people call it Lolita combined with 50 Shades of Grey, but in short, without any spoilers, the summary of this book is that a 17-year-old girl who's very innocent, she's never even had dinner at a restaurant. I remember she says at one point she just has very little real world experience. She works as kind of a helper with her mom at the hotel that they run. She meets not just a middle-aged man, but an elderly man. I don't think they even say his exact age in the book, but I've seen some other people say that he's around 67. But one way or another, they end up in kind of a BDSM relationship. It's quite clear to me that this is not a piece of erotica, because I classify erotica at least as a piece of writing or artwork, whatever, that's meant to be sexually stimulating. And this I don't think is meant to be sexually stimulating in any way. The only feeling I think you're supposed to feel reading this book is disturbed, and I assume that's the author's intention. But outside of that, I'm just not clear what the author was trying to say with this book and what her intent was, and because of that, it's really difficult for me to form an opinion. And it would be really easy for me to bash this and say, you know, this is a terrible relationship and no one should aspire to be in a relationship like this, and therefore this book should never have been written. But I definitely don't think the author is saying that people should be in a relationship like this. I'm just not sure what the author is trying to say at all. The writing of this book was quite good, and I would be interested in reading things by her in the future. But yeah, if you guys have some other information about this book, maybe the author has talked about in interviews or things like that, what she was really going for with this, I'd be really interested to hear. I've tried to look at stuff online and haven't found much. And next we have Ranma 1/2, and I read this years and years ago, I think when I was 10 or so, and then I came across it at my favorite bookstore, Second and Charles, for just $5. So I thought I would pick it up and see if it held up, and it definitely did. It was just as funny as I remember it being, although I do remember like hiding and reading this under my covers as if it was really dirty, but aside from there being boobs, it's really not, so I don't know what I was so fearful of my parents seeing. But anyway, some of you corrected me when I gave the summary of this book, because in my haul I incorrectly summarized it, but granted it was a decade ago when I read them. But this tells the story of Ranma, who after traveling to China falls into, I don't remember if it's a lake or a pond, and after that, depending on if it's hot or cold water that splashes against him, he'll suddenly develop breasts and become a woman. Then we have a father and his 3 daughters, and the father is trying to set Ranma up with one of his daughters, and obviously calamity ensues, but it's so funny. And the story's also, I think, very empowering for girls as well. There are endless scenes of girls beating the shit out of guys. Not obviously in terms of bullying or violence or anything like that. People just like to showcase their karate skills. But I highly recommend checking that series out. I think if you liked Fruits Basket, you'll definitely like this. Finally, we have a graphic novel, and that is Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is a short story collection of horror novels. Inside are 6 short stories, and I'll make sure to insert clips of only the first couple of pages from each story, so that way you won't be spoiled with their endings. Overall, I thought the writing and the artwork was absolutely beautiful. This is definitely my version of like a really wonderful like coffee table book. I mean, no one visits me in my apartment here because it's so small. Like I can't hang out with friends here. I don't even have chairs. But when I finally graduate and, you know, I have a job, so then eventually I'll have an apartment in a few months, this is definitely gonna be the type of book that I'll have on my coffee table that people can walk in and just read it, and then they can get a feel for what I'm like as a person and what they should expect in getting to know me. So overall, I did really enjoy it. The only thing I would say is I thought the endings of 3 out of the 6 stories or so were quite lacking. It's not necessarily the fact that some of the stories I felt were too short, but I just felt as if the author thought when she was writing it that we were gonna all turn the last page for a lot of these stories and like feel punched in the stomach and be like, holy shit, oh my god, and just be blown away and freaked out. And a lot of times I would turn that last page and be like, So some of the stories just didn't, I think, hit home as much as I wanted them to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this wrap up. My next video is going to be a book review spoiler free of Big Little Lies, which was a book I definitely have a lot to say about that was just fantastic. So that will be up on Thursday, I believe, so make sure to check that out, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.